You start from where you are. It's not going to be easy because life is hard for everyone. But there are hundreds of case studies out there showing how people who were quote unquote failures in their 40s or went bankrupt in their 40s or hadn't achieved their version of success yet in their 30s or 40s or 50s turned everything around and achieved that success. For example, Chris Gardner was homeless and living on the streets with his young son when he was in his 40s. He landed an internship at a stock brokerage firm, worked his way up, and eventually started his own successful brokerage firm. You know what movie that's from, right? J.K. Rowling. She was a single mother living on welfare when she began writing the first Harry Potter book. And we all know how that ended. After a series of rejections, she finally got published at the ripe young age of 32. And now she's one of the wealthiest authors in the world. Or what about Ray Kroc? It's a great movie on Netflix about this. He was a humble milkshake machine salesman who didn't find his success until he was 52 years old, when he started McDonald's and managed to grow it into the global fast food empire it is today. Or Samuel L. Jackson, this is a great one. He was actually a drug addict for a long time. He was in debt and addicted to drugs in his 40s. He got his big break in Hollywood with the movie Pulp Fiction, as many of us know, at the age of 46, and has since become one of the most recognizable actors in the world. Vera Wang. I don't know a whole lot about her, but I do know that she didn't find her success until she started her own fashion label at the age of 40, and went on to become one of the most successful bridal gown designers in the world. Colonel Sanders. This one I knew about. I like this guy. He was a struggling businessman who failed over and over until he eventually started a fried chicken restaurant in his 40s. He faced a number of rejections before finally finding success with his recipe and starting what we all know today as the Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurants, which became a global franchise. Julia Child was another late bloomer. She didn't even know how to cook until she was well into her 30s and didn't publish her first cookbook until she was 49 years old. She went on to host her own cooking show, The French Chef, and that made her a household name. Oprah Winfrey, that's a pretty famous story as well. She was fired from her job when she was 29. It wasn't until she was in her 40s that she started her own production company and became a billionaire. Sue Zorman was a waitress until she was in her 30s. She later became a financial advisor, and it wasn't until she was in her 40s that she started writing financial books and became the television personality many of us know today. She's now a best-selling author and financial expert. And this list goes on and on and on. If you want to hear more success stories like these, read up on Martha Stewart. She was one who didn't become a household name until her 40s, didn't start her catering business until her 30s. Henry Ford, that's a great success story. He was a successful engineer actually early on, but his first two automobile companies failed by the time that he was in his 40s. He founded the Ford Motor Company at the age of 45, and well, the rest is history. Jack Ma, that's a great story too. He was a failed entrepreneur for a very long time, in his 30s, well into his 40s, and he ended up starting Alibaba, of course, in 1999 at the age of 35, and it took a while, but eventually it made him one of the richest people in China. Steve Jobs is on this list, Reid Hoffman, James Dyson. The list goes on and on and on. They all achieved their success later in life than what some would consider normal. But there is no way to calculate normal, that I know of anyway. Every person is different, and that's okay. The most important thing is determining your own definition of success and going after it with everything you've got. Because even if you end up on your deathbed without achieving all of it, you can say that you courageously gave it your all. You left nothing on the table. And that, to me, is true success. Because what more can you do? And chances are, you're going to achieve at least many, if not most, of those things if you give it everything that you've got, right?
Here's a meditative strategy for ceasing to falter. You could wake up in the morning, or you could do this at night before you go to bed, and you could think, okay, look, I want to structure my day tomorrow so that when I'm done with the day, my life is in slightly better order than it was when I woke up this morning. It's just slightly better, because incremental progress is massively, massively effective, because it bears exponential fruit, just like a bank account. Compounds. Incremental progress compounds with time. So you can get up in the morning and you can think, okay, there's some things in my life that I could put in order today. They're usually things you don't want to do, as I mentioned earlier. What could I do today that would help put my life in order, that I would do? And you have to ask yourself. You can't tell yourself. You have to ask yourself, what would you do? And then maybe you have to say, well, or maybe you have to say, under what conditions would I be willing to do something to put my life in further order today? What little reward would I need to give myself? And these have to be questions. You can't like take out the whip and boss yourself around, because you'll find that you're a terrible master and a worse slave. And so you can get a long ways if you look low enough. One of the things Carl Jung said, which I really liked, was that modern people don't see God because they don't look low enough. They don't have the humility. Now, you said that you have already faltered, so it sounds like you've got the humility already intact. So I would say, think about what you want. Think about what you know around you isn't set right, because you'll know. Make a list of things that around you that aren't right. And then start thinking about small things you can do, like trivial things that even a fool like yourself could manage, that would orient you in the right direction and help straighten out your life. And try that for a year before you decide that you're a failure, because you'll find that if you put that into practice for a year, that things will be a lot better. And like I said, you got 40 years left, so you're not done yet, man. So the other thing I would say too is, it isn't exactly that I would say forgive yourself, because that's just a cliche, but I would say that once you've decided what you've done wrong, and you've put into practice some strategies to rectify that you don't have to beat yourself any more than is necessary for you to learn, which is a good rule of thumb with regards to treating yourself and also to treating other people. So
embrace failures as a learning tool. Yes, you should absolutely plan properly and avoid failure as much as you can, but it's literally impossible to never fail. So it's also important to recognize that failure is a normal and absolutely necessary part of the learning process. A failure in your life typically means you were willing to put yourself out there, to take a risk, and to pursue a big goal or dream, and consistently doing that is the exact opposite of true failure. The only true failure is letting fear keep you from your dreams and ambitions. Failure is a harsh but necessary teacher that fine-tunes you and sculpts you into a stronger version of you. And that's all I have. If you learned something or were reminded of something important today, please give this video a like and comment to help me harness the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe and hit the bell so that you're notified when I publish a new one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.